Brought to you by DK Audio.
DK Audio presents Everything I Know About Hormones, written and read by Hannah Alderson. This book is dedicated to every woman who has ever felt brushed off, and to your health and happiness. The journey starts now. Introduction. As I sit here, I feel incredibly lucky. I've worked hard on my hormones, health, happiness, and career. But like most things, there was a dash of luck involved. I was lucky enough to trust my gut and ask more questions, not taking no for an answer when doctors brushed me off. I was lucky enough to have private healthcare, a supportive family, and access to education, which helped me pivot my career and take my wellness into my own hands. I'm now lucky to live symptom-free with two beautiful children, Otis and Dusty, something I once thought impossible. I'm lucky to support women daily in my clinic, women who were once lost and overwhelmed like me. The best luck of all, though, is sharing everything I know about hormones and sprinkling a little luck your way too. It's a privilege to reflect on my own hormone story as I write this. And I'm not going to lie, it's been a wild ride. As many listeners will know firsthand, hormones don't always follow the script. My hormone story. Throughout my teenage years, my periods were often irregular and painful. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, going on the pill was the norm. And like most kids my age, I started taking an oral contraception pill at age 16. It was a disaster for me, negatively impacting my weight and mental health and leading me to suffer from terrible mood swings. I was then put onto a different oral contraceptive that I continued to take for several years. I grew up during a horrendous era for diet culture and body image. My toes still curl when I remember walking into my first diet club meeting at 16 with my mum, held in an echoey village hall where nutritional advice was being dished out as quickly as the branded diet bars. This was where my journey with yo-yo dieting began, driven by a constant fluctuating weight due to a condition called polycystic ovarian syndrome, or PCOS. Despite exhibiting all the most common symptoms at the time, I didn't know that I had PCOS, and I wouldn't receive my diagnosis until 5 years later. So what is PCOS? It's an endocrine disorder driven by an imbalance of hormones, typically producing excessive amounts of testosterone, cortisol, and insulin. A collection of specific symptoms unique to each individual. PCOS can be linked to insulin resistance, inflammation, and high stress. Symptoms often include irregular or absent periods, fluctuations in weight, anxiety, fatigue, excess hair growth, sleep issues, and skin conditions. As my weight fluctuated ever more dramatically during my late teens, my preoccupation with dieting deepened. My changing body shape, mixed feelings with anxiety, erratic cycles, and unusually long periods made me feel low, lost, and lackluster. I couldn't understand what was wrong. In my early 20s, I finally decided to come off the pill. However, my period didn't reappear. My doctor told me this was nothing to worry about, but a year and a half later, it still hadn't returned. And with continued weight changes and congested skin, my feelings of anxiety were crippling. I could not understand why my body felt so unstable. Why did I suddenly become short of breath in mildly stressful scenarios? Why did I catastrophize the small things? Why did my excess weight center around my middle? Why was I constantly tired? Why was my skin so inflamed and spotty? Outwardly, I presented as being a bright, popular drama scholar who went on to get a first-class honours degree and the Royal National Theatre Student Award. But underneath it all, I felt like a failure. Was I failing at being a woman because I wasn't having periods? Was I failing at being desirable as I wasn't thinner? And the sad thing is, I never actually was overweight. I was just a young woman trying to keep up with unrealistic beauty standards. And sadly, I know so many women have been made to feel the same. At age 21, a doctor mentioned PCOS to me. I'd never heard of this condition, and it wasn't until a few years later that I was officially diagnosed after a routine smear revealed abnormal cells in my cervix. My periods still hadn't returned after stopping the pill, so while having these abnormal cells removed, I negotiated getting an internal scan of my ovaries. The scan, along with further blood tests, confirmed the diagnosis of PCOS. No one explained it to me. Like so many women, I was left to face it alone. Back then, I didn't realise that PCOS is one of the most common yet frequently undiagnosed conditions affecting women. Globally, it's estimated to affect 8 to 13% of women. Still, according to the World Health Organization, up to 70% of women with PCOS remain undiagnosed. After being told I had PCOS, the advice was to either go back on the pill or just wait until I wanted children, at which point I could start taking metformin. This is a medication for type 2 diabetes, or clomiphene, a drug that stimulates ovulation in women. The word infertility was also thrown around, taking root in my already anxious subconscious. Was I going to fail at motherhood too? I took the advice, confident that medical professionals knew best, and decided to just wait it out until I wanted to start a family. In a bid to manage my yo-yoing weight, I jumped between fad diets and juice cleanses. But eating less and exercising more won't solve any underlying metabolic issues. When your metabolic profile causes your body to prioritize the accumulation of fat, even your best efforts may leave you feeling frustrated. The elevated levels of insulin and cortisol associated with PCOS, for instance, can make conventional advice from your doctor less helpful. I have worked with hundreds of women who have been failed by a medical system that does not understand the complexities of this disorder. I tried everything. Honestly, the Special K challenge, Atkins, Dukan, the apple diet, the maple syrup fast, and for a long stint when I was living in New York, trying to make it on Broadway, I took up veganism after reading Skinny Bitch. I could literally look at a donut and put on 5 pounds. And at the turn of the millennium, I was living life fast and dirty. Hydration was based on Diet Coke. Sleep was in short supply, my diet was poor, and my beauty regime consisted of only face wipes. Little did I know that this kind of inflammatory lifestyle, paired with terrible sleep patterns and high stress, would drive my hormonal imbalance and worsen another condition I later found out I had: endometriosis. Endometriosis is an estrogen-dominant inflammatory condition that occurs when tissue, similar to the lining of the uterus, grows outside of the uterus. Think of it like a period bleed happening in your body but with nowhere to go. So painful and inflamed lesions form. At 26, I had started experiencing serious pain in my lower abdomen. It was a scratching, aching pain that seemed to radiate from both ovaries. I'd recently had the copper core fitted, having been told this was a better choice for me than the pill, as it was hormone-free, and assumed that this was the cause. I was also feeling even more tired, but I put that down to all the late nights out in town, living my best life like any girl in her 20s. I tried to ignore the symptoms until one day the pain was so intense I couldn't leave the house. It was engulfing and ferocious, like metal scraping across soft, tender tissue, radiating from my core like a throbbing earthquake. The only thing that comes close to a comparison is childbirth. Sex was painful. Going to the loo was painful. It was a lot. With conditions like endometriosis, you can't see the source of pain. And if you can't see it, is it even there? I was made to feel like I was imagining things, something I continue to hear about from clients all too frequently. Doctors told
Sample complete. Ready to continue?